And not the yellows. Don't take them. They're liable to kill you.
Our focus on Far Cry 3 was making a credible world, something that was real and gritty and insane. And I think the main components for us are obviously the island, right? The island for us is a character. And we really wanted to make a place that was beautiful and lush and wild and unique and was something that the player would want to discover. But at the same time, we wanted to focus on the idea that this is a place that is completely remote, completely cut off, and that if you get hurt here, there's no 911. There's nobody that's going to come to save you. I think after that, we talk about, I think at E3 we met Voss, and we have the Doctor now, we have Willis. We talk about this insane cast of characters. And there's a real focus to give you this experience of meeting people that are completely different from what you'd expect. Their motivations are different. They've almost been steeped in the island, almost born of it. And a lot of them look at you like a piece of meat. And the reality is that the question is, can you survive it? Each one of these characters, we want them to feel like a rabbit hole, and that you would have a journey as you dealt with them. And then finally, probably a departure, is Jason himself. The idea that our character he's not a superhero, he's not a supermarine, he's not a merc, he doesn't have an innate skill for this. He just happens to be there. So the idea for us is that if you or I or anybody else got on a plane and went over and had this experience, that it would be like that. And so Jason just happens to be there, and all he wants to do is find his friends and survive.
Shit, gotta go!
I don't want to give too much away about the story, but the reality is that we wanted the island, we wanted the mystique of the island, we wanted the personality of the island to actually affect our main character. We start off with this guy, young Gen Y guy, babe in the woods, doesn't really, he thinks he's got a really good beat on things, and then what happens is over time as you actually watch him change, right? The island takes its pound of flesh. His friends that see him at the beginning that he's hanging out with and that he's backpacking across Asia with, they know him as this guy. But the reality is that once he's been on the island for a while, I won't say how long, once he's been there for a while, it starts to present a Jason that's very, very different from the guy who arrived. And the question is how much is he going to take with him if he can get off the island? What's it going to do to him? Can he ever actually go back? One of the things we did when we started to take the idea of making our characters real and gritty and insane is we knew that we needed to do our research. So we went out and we talked to the guys from Vice Guide, from Liberia. I don't know if you guys know about them. A bunch of journalists who basically put themselves in harm's way. And we wanted to know, have we created characters that are real? Could Voss exist out there? So we brought these guys in and we showed them Voss. Then we showed them the Doctor. There's a little moment of silence. And one guy leans back and kind of smiles at the other guy and he goes, that Doctor, I've met him. I know that guy. I don't know how you've done it, but that's a guy I recognize. And Voss, there's a guy exactly like that here, and goes on to tell a whole story. And for us, when we started to see the validation that these people that we're making, as crazy as they are and as unique as they are, exist somewhere out there in the world, we feel like we've stumbled on the secret sauce.
Dr. Earnhardt here. Or in and out, as the case may be.
The key thing for us on the island was making sure that we had characters whose personalities were almost like bombs, okay? So you take a guy like Voss, and you take a look at the demo. Voss's guys are out there ripping stuff off the hull of a ship. They're like vultures. They rip apart this stuff. They treat people like garbage. Voss's personality permeates through the island. What we wanted to do was that each section of the island that you meet, each group that you run across, you start to see the personality of the people that inhabit it, people like Voss, people like the Doctor, and that it's different. And that the experience you have is different. The experience that you have with Voss is very, very edge of the seat, knife in hand, kill or be killed. The experience you have with the Doctor is completely different. He lives high on this precipice on the edge of an island. The guy's absolutely crazy. For whatever reason, he paints his house white once a week. And his big thing is to basically scour the countryside near his house for these hallucinogens. and he brings you into that experience. For us, we just want you to have that moment in time experience where when you're with this character, when you're with Voss, you have an extremely Voss-related feel to it. When you're with the Doctor, you can be a little bit more in a discovery mode. You can see the island with a fresh perspective. For us, the key to making that so that it's attractive to the player is to make sure that you have a player who's a shooter player, got a gun in their hand, and it's very difficult to attract their attention. You want to fishhook them to basically go, okay, kill this guy, go ahead and do this. And then when it's all over, for a brief minute, before they're on their way to their next mission, they have the opportunity to just take a look around and discover. When you go to a place like the Medusa, and you've just killed a whole bunch of people, and you're really thinking, I gotta get out of here, you notice that behind the waterfall, there's a cave system. You notice that there's a cenote back there. You notice that perhaps there's something in there for you to discover. You look back into the water, and there's a ship graveyard. And if you can find a way, you can swim down, get inside one of those ships, and see what's inside. For us, it was about taking the personality of Voss and the Doctor and having it explode like a bomb across the island, and you discover what's in that area.
Everything is excellent, really.
When we started to go down the road of crafting the island and crafting the experience, what we wanted to do was say, okay, if you're a shooter player, you like shooters, and that you just like to follow mission to mission and have that experience, you just want to kill a bunch of stuff, you can do that here. But the jungle is going to call to you. You're going to be bombing around in your truck, and you're going to see the glint of something off in the jungle. And it's pretty difficult not to go and check it out. And then once you do, there's something in there that you can find. And if you find that thing, or if you get a message or a note or something like that, it can send you in a whole different avenue to what you were thinking. And what we're finding is that as we go into playtest and as we have people play the game and give us feedback on the game, is that people who are absolutely adamant of the idea of, no, I'm going to go from point to point, and I'm not interested in this, and characters are cool, and they get hooked. And they go off and they discover. They end up in a temple somewhere. They end up in that cenote. So in terms of how much is optional versus how much is something that you're going to do, it really depends on your playstyle. It really depends on how much you want to discover and how good a job we do hooking you.
Doc, you here?
Strange stuff is going to happen. This is going to be an experience that if you or I went over to an island and we had our friends taken, we would not have you would not have one experience, you'd have a series of experiences. And for us, what we wanted to do was ensure that the player always had something different. We took that same formula, that same recipe of saying, okay, we want you to have a unique experience here. And we made sure that it was peppered and layered across the island. If you went over and had that experience, we've gone down and we've thought about that. We've really thought about the type of experience that you might have. And we deliver in every category. I think for me, the 360 approach and the whole concept of the 360 degrees in your battle, your way is incredibly important. And it's difficult for us. I mean, it's not easy to do. You think of this action bubble as a sphere, right? You get to the Medusa, and you can pretty much attack it from any angle. What we had to do was figure out a way to make sure that we made the space look reasonable, look credible, and that you could attack it from any direction, and that it would still work. That the AI would fall back, that the enemies would look smart, that they would respond intuitively to how you played it. So, there are times in the Medusa where, if you want to play it a little bit more stealthy and you want to use a little bit more of a hand-to-hand weapon, you want to break out the machete, you want to cut somebody's throat, you want to get up close and personal, totally available to you. You want to hang back and you want to pick them off one by one so they don't even know where you are, totally available to you. You want to climb a peak and you want to swim around to the other side or jump off the very top of the peak and land quietly in the waterfall and then come up and kill guys, you can do that. If you can take a hang glider and you can fly over something and you can land on it, the AI needs to be able to respond to that. They need to be able to see you and shoot at you. They need to be able to fall back to a position. They need to be able to run away and scatter. For us, it's all about that 360 approach. And then offering you a palate cleanse, like the Doctor's mission. to allow you to think about it fresh again when you run into it again. All we're saying right now is 2012, and it's going to come out on the 360, the PS3, and PC.